Billie Eilish and Finneas, our multi-Grammy award-winning songwriter partners, brother and sister team, won the Oscar 2 years ago for their song "No Time to Die." Welcome back to the panel, guys. It's good to see you.
Good to
Um,
see you too.
yeah, this year they're Oscar nominated for the song "What Was I Made For" from Barbie. So I gotta ask, this is gonna kind of the same question I asked earlier. The phone rings, Phineas, Billy, and it's about Barbie. And I'd love to hear how that process began. When did you see a script? Did you jump into a song? And so a little bit about writing this song, how you approached this writing this song together. And the visuals are so intense. Did the visuals play a part in what you created?
Well, hi Paul. Hi everybody. Hi Niall.
Hey.
Congratulations to everyone. This is such a big deal, and you're all so incredibly talented, and I am here uh rooting for you all. But to answer your question, honestly, I gotta hand it to Phineas for this one. I was kind of just farting around, and Phineas was like talking to Greta a bunch and talking to Mark, and um kind of was like, Billy, would you be interested at all in making a Barbie song? And I remember just it was such a like it was so far in the future, and it was so like not a reality at the time. And I just remember being like, what do I have to do with that? Like it's gonna be good already. I don't know what I could even bring to it. And I had no idea what it was gonna be like, and we hadn't seen it and we hadn't heard much, but Phineas, you can talk about it, but we got a call from Greta and Mark, and they kind of explained it to us. And then, yeah, Phineas, tell them how it all started.
Yeah, it was a sort of a roundabout way. One of our team members, Paul Wachter, was in a meeting with Inan from Mattel, and Inan was excitedly talking about the movie and the soundtrack that Mark was putting together. And somebody from our team was, I think Inan was like, would Billy and Phineas be interested in making something for this? And he was like, well, just ask them. And Paul, reached out to us and said, is this something you're interested in? And we were like, at the time, all I'd seen were like the TMZ photos of them in the crazy outfits on rollerblades on the Santa Monica pier, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to know all about this because I'm such a big fan of Greta, and we're both big fans of Mark, obviously also. And so I got put in touch with Mark, and we talked very briefly on the phone. And then Mark very kindly set up a call for Billy and I and Mark and Greta to get on. And then Greta kind of explained sort of the outline of the film. And she said, you know what, actually, if you're going to write anything, I really want you to see the movie. I'm going to be in LA in a couple weeks. So her and David Heyman showed us like the first 30 minutes of the film. And then she kind of walked down and was like, all right, let me show you scenes that I think you have to see to sort of get through the rest of the movie. She showed us the scene of Barbie at the school with Ariana Greenblatt. She showed us a bunch of the Ken stuff in Century City, which killed us. She showed us the America Ferrera monologue, and then she showed us the scene that the Now Feel scene, the scene that our song ended up in. And at the time, there was no montage that we were shown yet, and it was just Margot's unbelievable performance. It was just sort of Ruth saying "Now feel," and Margot standing there and beginning to kind of feel for the first time. And we were just very moved by the whole thing. And I remember us asking Greta that day, if you could have us write anything, what do you need? And she was being very effusive and generous, and she was like, whatever you guys want to make, I'll be happy with. And Billy and I are real like house painters, and so we were like, tell us where to tell us what you need. And she was like, well, we don't have Barbie's heart song yet, I don't think. So if you could write anything, I would want you to write that. We were like, done. And then the pressure really was just that we thought the movie was so magnificent, and we were so moved by it. And we went home with it really fresh in our minds. And the next day we were supposed to be working on our Billy's next album, and we were roadblocked. I don't know if you want to fill in there, Billy.
Yeah. I mean, it was such an interesting time because we were so not creative in that period of life. Like nothing, we weren't really making anything. We'd written like one song, and that was our only moment of like creative, inspiration. And it was, I've said this a gazillion times, but I'm just going to say it again, that it was like, it was 24 hours after we saw the movie. And I remember like, seeing the movie, I was like, oh, this is really good. And I don't know if I'm good anymore. And I don't know if I can match this. And I was kind of freaked out by that. I was kind of like, oh, damn, like, shit. Like, I wasn't sure if it was going to work, because who the hell knew? And of course, Greta is like the most talented woman in the world, and she deserves all of the praise and success that she will get in her life. And I remember just being like so blown away by the movie. I remember Finneas and I kept looking at each other like, this is really good. And I was nervous because I didn't think I had it in me anymore to make a good song, and especially to match how good I felt like the movie was and how it made me feel in my chest. And yeah, 24 hours later, we were writing, and we were trying to come up with stuff, and we couldn't. And I was like, keys in hand, gonna walk out the door, gonna go home, give up. This isn't a good day for us. We can't write anything today. And Finneas was just like, what if we just tried to write a Barbie song? And I remember just being like, oh, that's ridiculous. That's a completely ridiculous idea. Like that's like being the most tired you've ever been, and somebody's like, let's go run a marathon. What about that? And I was like, that's so unrealistic. We're never going to write that. And we sat down and wrote the entire song in like, an hour or something. And the visuals, to answer that part of your question, that were in my head, I mean, that's like the biggest part of all of this. I think that, that scene where Barbie and Ruth are talking in the like white abyss, and Margot is so good. She's so good. And they're standing there, and she says, now take my hands and close your eyes and feel. Like Finneas said, it was just a shot of Margot closing her eyes and crying. And that was it. There was no montage. And that was just replaying over and over and over in my head when we left, and it was raining, and God, I was just really affected by it. And I thought it was so special and powerful. And I don't know. I think I needed to write that song. I think that it was really necessary for my life. And thank God that Barbie existed, because I don't think we ever would have been able to write a song like that had it not been, a movie so powerful that it brought it out of us. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So you've perfectly queued up the next thing that I'm going to ask you, because you've already answered what Paul and I was going to ask you earlier. So here's the deal. Can you explain the lyrics and the message you want the audience to take away from the song? Since you've like eloquently discussed the angst and the whole other shit, get to that part.
God. Well, it's so funny, the way that it's been for the last couple of months in talking about the song and doing little like live performances and some interviews about the song. I kind of go into like, just like, industry mode, where I'm just talking about like the making of the song and like the recording process of the song and then the process of the movie and this and that. And, the other day, a clip of the movie played, and then the song played, and something happened, and I just was like suddenly remembered like how deeply intensely I felt when I saw that movie, and what it made me feel, and then how deep the intensity was when we were writing it. And God, it brought me back. I was like, oh my God, like I can't even like watch that scene. Like it's like tough. It's really tough to watch. Even listening to the song sounds silly, but like it's hard to even listen to the song a little bit for me, because it's so vulnerable, and so it just reminds me of the movie. And I don't know, I think we all feel a sense of what the hell are we doing here, and what are we made for, and what do we want? What do we not like, and what do we like, and like what do we want to do with our lives, And I think that the song, the message and the feeling of it is like, I don't even know. Like it's just existential dread a little bit, as I've said before. And what I do think is really, what I find really special about the song is that unlike any other song Finneas and I have ever made, we ended it on a hopeful note. So, and that was like a thing we chose to do. You know, we originally wrote a verse at the end that was like very hopeless and dark and kind of like, you know, everything I just said is true and I don't, there's no point. And we kind of had this view of like, you know what? The way that the movie is about this feeling of, you know, I don't feel like I belong, but I'm going to feel like I belong. And even if it's not now, it will happen and I will feel that way. And I thought that really resonated with me, and I've never done that before. So I thought that was really special, and I really feel good about that part of the song and how it ends with this, like, you know, I think that this is what's been happening to me, and I think I've lost this feeling of passion for life, but I'm going to get it back, and I'm going to find things that feel right to me, and I'm going to find love and laughter and joy again. And I, you know, even if it's the last thing I do, I will be, you know, happy again. It's kind of the idea of it.
You know, the thing I love about this job, if you will, is songwriters, man, we're such a special community. And what you've just said, and I could picture it. I really thank you and Finneas for your work and where you're coming from. Thank you for your words and the inspiration. Thank everybody. It's so moving to me, especially after being up all day.
But she talked about being tired. That's interesting. I've always said that I do my best work when I'm lost, but sometimes when it's tired, there's a vulnerability. And Niall, just to add to what you're saying too, and kind of inspired about what you're talking about, Melanie, is that as that audience member, the fact is that one of the gifts we get as writing for film is that art creates art. So what watching on that screen had such a powerful effect on both of you, and it just and you're vulnerable and you're open and boom, it opens. It's just, and talk about whiplash from Barbie as a child remembers Barbie to the intensity of Greta's brilliance. It was just wonderful. Thank you. I want to co-sign Niall's thank you, and it's really good to see you all again. Well, you know what we'd like to do? Incidentally, I was at Diane's New Year's Eve party this year and all, and it was a collection of some amazing Hall of Fame songwriters, brilliant songwriters, and the conversation was interesting. Let's pretend we're at Diane's and open this up for a little conversation amongst everybody. For an interesting subject is musical influences. Who are your influences, or influences, if you prefer that?
I guess you stayed up all night too.
Exactly.
Who are you asking?
All of you, who jump in first? Who cares?
Overall musical influence that I think about every time I write pretty much is the Beatles, which is an easy one, but it's true. But honestly, like Scott was saying, I really have always been drawn to like singers and playing with vocals, and that's like been the thing that I've been in love with since I was a kid. And you know, I loved Frank Sinatra and Johnny Mathis and Peggy Lee and Etta James and Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan, and those were the people that I was just completely in awe over. And then, you know, Lana Del Rey is a big reason for my existence. And I also was thinking while everyone was talking that I honestly drew a lot of inspiration from choral music. I grew up in a choir, and we were always singing a lot of songs in Spanish and in a lot of religious songs. And I didn't grow up religious, but I loved singing songs about religion. And I just thought it was really beautiful, and the way that choral pieces are composed is so beautiful and so different than anything else. And the way that the vocals are layered and all of the different harmonies and the chords and the, you know, just everything about it. The lyrics are so beautiful. I loved hymns. I grew up on a lot of hymns. And honestly, that's a big inspiration for me is choral stuff and stuff in other languages. We sang a lot in different languages. We sang in German and Spanish and like Hebrew and I don't know, a lot of different stuff. And I thought it was really beautiful. And yeah, those are the main ones. And I think the number one inspiration for me in my whole life of songwriting is my brother, Finneas. And I'm being dead serious. That's like the only reason I ever would have made music in the first place was my brother and how incredible he is. And he's so good and he's so fast and he's truly like the greatest songwriter I've ever met. And I've met a lot. No shade, but yeah, my brother is the best to do it ever. So he's my biggest inspiration. And there you go.
I want to thank you all. You've been incredible for giving us this time and your wisdom and your love. And I just, it's great. It's great to see you, my old friends, and I guess my new friends now. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
If
I could,
your time. What a treat to share this space with you guys, legends.
I'll leave you with my friend's greeting and parting expression. Always walk in beauty. Walk in beauty.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.